archival footage of AC/DC tearing through a 1970s concert. From the moment he auditioned for AC/DC in 1975, Phil Rudd became the heartbeat of the band. His steady powerhouse 4/4 groove underpinned hits like Let There Be Rock, Highway to Hell, and Back in Black. As one critic notes, it is Rudd's perfectly judged entrance you hear on Highway to Hell. His laid-back groove gives Back in Black its monster feel. Even frontman Brian Johnson would later call Rudd a solid drummer, and every fan knew the Thunder from Down Under was named Phil. Close-up on album covers and tour footage showing Rudd in the drum riser. Through Highway to Hell, 1979, and beyond, Rudd's thunderous beats were the engine driving AC/DC's raw, rebellious sound. In stadiums and on record, his minimalist style, no flash, all power, let the guitars roar. In the early 1980s, amid sold-out crowds and roaring amplifiers, Phil Rudd was the solid pulse behind Angus Young's pyrotechnic guitar riffs. Footage of AC/DC's mid-1980s album cover and the band on tour. But by 1983, the rhythm began to falter. After the flick of the switch sessions, Rudd parted ways with AC/DC. Tensions with Malcolm Young and personal issues, even rumors of a 1978 nervous breakdown, had reached a breaking point. The official story in Circus magazine flatly announced, Phil Rudd exits AC/DC to spend more time with his family and his cars. In reality, it was a bitter split. Guitarist Angus Young would later admit the band had got into a spot where we couldn't move forward if Rudd stayed. Even so, singer Brian Johnson praised Rudd as a more solid drummer than anyone, noting, "None of us would have to work if we didn't want to." Phil chose that option. Photo of Phil Rudd in New Zealand, 1980s. Phil retreated to New Zealand, building a quiet life, racing cars, flying helicopters, farming, and only drumming when I wanted to rather than when I had to. For over a decade, he was off the global stage, while AC/DC soldiered on with stand-in drummers. He'd have to want to, as Brian hinted, and indeed Phil chose that option. But rock has a way of coming full circle. Footage of AC/DC on the 1990s stage with Simon Wright, and then reuniting. In 1991, during a New Zealand tour for the Razor's Edge, the band invited Rudd to jam. By 1994, he was back in the lineup, pounding out the riffs on Ballbreaker and every album through Rock or Bust. The Thunder was reborn. Dark, moody reenactment of a police raid on a house. Flash images of handcuffs and headlines. In November 2014, Rudd's stormy years reached a fever pitch. New Zealand police raided his home and charged him with meth and cannabis possession and making violent threats. The most sensational charge, attempting to procure a murder, was later dropped, but the damage was done. AC/DC announced Chris Slade as his replacement for the upcoming tour, and in media interviews bandmates spoke bluntly. Angus Young said, "He's got to sort himself out. I don't know the exact situation," noting Rudd had missed video shoots and was not the Phil we've known from the past. Bassist Cliff Williams sighed, "He's got himself into some sort of situation. He's got to sort himself out." The band performing without Rudd. By April 2015, Rudd pleaded guilty to the remaining charges. In a televised interview, he looked aged and contrite. "I've seen the error of my ways," he told Australia's A Current Affair, adding almost philosophically, "You make your own mistakes. We all make mistakes." Sentencing came on July 9, 2015. 8 months house arrest and heavy reparations. The mighty drummer was grounded. In hindsight, Rudd sounded rueful. "I shot myself in the foot. You make your own bed, mate," he admitted in 2017. In that dark chapter, the Thunder of AC/DC lost one of its core pulses. Footage of Phil Rudd speaking at a press mic, looking determined. After the sentence, Rudd was desperate to return to his place behind the drums. In mid-2015, he spoke on TV. "I'm fit and ready to go," he insisted, though he conceded the band hadn't reached out. His message was simple. He missed the road, missed AC/DC. In later interviews, Phil didn't mince words. When asked if AC/DC called him up to rejoin, he laughed and said, "Of course, yeah, I fucked off for a few years before, so it wouldn't be completely new." He joked it wasn't the first time he'd buggered off for a couple of years to do his own thing, but made it clear, in his heart, the band remained an institution, a juggernaut he'd rally behind again. Montage of AC/DC concerts circa 2015, Angus Young soloing, Phil's empty drum stool on stage. Yet AC/DC moved forward without him. In February 2015, they confirmed Chris Slade on drums for the Rock or Bust tour. But the door wasn't entirely closed. Even as he was kept at arm's length, Rudd's mind stayed on the band he helped build. The gap on stage was personal and poetic, a legend out of the spotlight, still longing to thunder with his old friends. Stylized montage of AC/DC's record deals, gold albums, and corporate imagery of busy executives. With Rudd sidelined, discussion turned to the band itself. AC/DC had always been about rock and roll, but some wondered if it had become a well-oiled machine focused on sales. In 2014, their latest album Rock or Bust debuted at number 3 on Billboard. A success, even if the band looked different without Malcolm Young or Rudd. Some critics accused AC/DC of churning out formula hits, and in the background, any hint of dissent was brushed aside in pursuit of the next tour or record. Angus and company rarely addressed such talk directly. They just kept rocking on. Perhaps it's the nature of the business. Big arenas, loud guitars, and big money. In those moments, AC/DC was a greedy juggernaut of rock, relentless and single-minded. But to the young brothers and their circle, it was simply survival. Band finance or not, Rudd remained one of them in spirit. Slide of AC/DC's official sales tallies or a montage of concert tickets and merchandise. Through it all, one truth stood. Music came first. When AC/DC did finally return to recording in 2018, the Youngs reunited with Rudd for the tribute album Power Up, dedicated to Malcolm Young. It was a statement that whatever noise had surrounded them, the classic lineup and sound still mattered above all else. Images of Phil Rudd in later years with drumsticks in hand, alternating with photos of the AC/DC Hall of Fame ceremony. Today, Phil Rudd's legacy is etched in rock history. As a member of AC/DC's classic lineup, he was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 2003, a testament to the decades of thunder he helped generate. His drumming lives on in songs that defined generations, from the anthemic thump of Highway to Hell to the seismic pulse of Back in Black. Tribute montage, images of Bon Scott and Malcolm Young, then AC/DC on stage honoring them. But legacy has also been marked by loss. AC/DC mourned Bon Scott in 1980 and more recently Malcolm Young. Now, even as time marches on, a piece of AC/DC's heart remains with Phil Rudd. In 2020, he officially rejoined the band for their comeback album Power Up, proving his place was never fully gone. And on tour, he continued to share stages. His story is one of peaks and valleys, the thrill of rock and roll's highest stage, and the depths of personal demons. Close-up of Rudd smiling behind his drum kit, possibly from a 2019 concert, fading into a shot of an empty stage after a show. In the end, Phil Rudd sums it up in his own words, grinning wryly in a 2017 interview. He once called himself a pain in the arse. A good guy, but one with a tendency to be a major pain in the arse. And looking back on his ordeal, he reflected bluntly, "I was just being a fucking dickhead. I shot myself in the foot." Those words sting, and yet they carry humility. Today, Rudd knows he helped write rock history, for better or worse. Fade to black and white photo of the full AC/DC lineup circa 1979, with Rudd smiling with his drums. Rudd's final beat leaves us with the echo of legend. Through rise and ruin, he remains AC/DC's heartbeat, powerful, imperfect, and unforgettable. The saga of Phil Rudd is a reminder, even rock gods are human. From basement jam sessions to concert stadiums, from legal hell back to the spotlight, his journey has been as thunderous as the music he plays. Thanks for watching this Legend Story Vault feature. If you enjoyed this deep dive into rock history, like, comment, and subscribe for more stories behind the legends of rock.